Hey everyone, Harris O'Malley from drnerdlove.com. I just finished recording the latest live seminar for my fans, for my audience over on Facebook Live. This one was all about being social during COVID-19, how to build, manage, and strengthen your social life even when you have to shelter in place and practice social distancing. It was a really great time, had a lot of great comments. We even had a guest appearance by Mr. Senior Kitty, who was being a little diva and insisted on being on camera. Now, technical notes, because this was on Facebook Live, there is going to be a little audio and visual issues that unfortunately can't really be fixed in post, so I'm hoping you can be patient with those. It's going to just add to the flavor of it all. Now, as a quick programming note, the next episode is going to be all about dating and sex during COVID-19. And because it is going to be about sex and sexual topics, and we're going to talk pretty explicitly about some of the things that you can and can't do while you're dating and practicing safe sex during the pandemic, that is not going to be on Facebook. It is probably going to be done live on YouTube, but if you follow me on Twitter and on the Facebook page and on NerdLove Academy, then I will be sure to let you all know where and when. It will be Tuesday. The time may be a little bit different. I'm going to put up a poll to see when is the best time for people so that as many people as possible can join us. Hope you enjoyed this one. Like I said, still a learning experience, still kind of interesting flying without a net, without a fully formed script, or being able to go back and edit everything afterwards. So enjoy it. And now, the live seminar. So, hey everybody, welcome to the live teleseminar from Dr. NerdLove. I am Harris O'Malley from drnerdlove.com. This is brought to you by my incredibly generous patrons from patreon.com/drnerdlove. And before we get started, I want to give a shout out to each and every one of them, not at like individually because that would take us forever, but to say thank you guys so much. You all literally help keep the lights on. You pay for the equipment, you pay for the hosting, for making this possible, and I want to let you guys know, each and every one of you, that I appreciate you. I really appreciate what you guys do because you make this possible. And so for all of you who are joining me as we speak, thank you for being part of this. I know that right now things are crazy, things are chaotic, and it can feel like the world is out of control. And one of the things that we need to do is start feeling like we have control of our lives again, especially at a time like this when most of the country, most of the world, in fact, is under shelter-in-place laws. We are all under self-isolation and self-quarantine. And that can be really, really difficult. For the first week, you know what? Cool. The introverts are thriving as long as they, are able to pay their bills. The extroverts, okay, sure, we're starting to get a little twitchy. It's by the second week and the third week that we start having issues, because one of the side effects of social isolation and let's try that again. One of the side effects of self-isolation, social distancing, even being under quarantine, is loneliness. It is one that doesn't come up the way that we think that it would. It's not something that people discuss a lot, but it is one that a lot of folks are feeling very keenly right now. In fact, how many of you who are watching this as we speak are really starting to feel that pain of like, I never thought I would miss my friends this much. I never thought I would miss strangers this much. It is a weird thing to realize just how much the casual interactions we had with even total strangers in our day-to-day lives meant so much to us. And so now that we are all self-isolating, now that we're all social distancing, it's hitting us even harder. And the side effects of that are going to really be starting to trickle in. If you were here for my last live teleseminar, you may have noticed, you may have remembered when I was talking about how stress builds up cortisol in our systems. Loneliness is a huge cause of that stress. In fact, loneliness is a literal killer. Loneliness is as bad for you, if not worse, than smoking. And at a time like this, it can hit you in ways that you don't expect because we don't think of loneliness as being a social need. But humans are social animals. And being isolated from one another hurts us in ways that we don't necessarily expect. Because a thing that nobody thinks about is that approximately 70% of our happiness is due to our relationships with others and due to our connection with others. And right now, we don't have access to that. We are sheltering in place. We are with the people that we are quarantined with, and that's kind of it. And a lot of us are really starting to feel that lack. Now, the good thing is that this doesn't have to be the case. Not that we can go out and see other people, but we can still make those connections. This is a time when we need to really put the social in social media. Now, a lot of you are spending a lot more time on Instagram, on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, whatnot. How many of you are finding that it's not working quite the way that you hoped? It's not even the methadone for the heroin of in-person meetings, but it kind of keeps you from completely losing your nut, but it's still, you're feeling intensely lonely. We've got people in the comments saying that they miss their coworkers. Yeah, that is a thing that you wouldn't think. The people who get on your nerves every single day. Yeah, and then suddenly they're gone and there's a vacuum that was there. So one of the things that happens with social media, why it doesn't necessarily fill the gap, is for the same reason why you can be at a party and surrounded by people and still feel lonely. It is for the reason that you can be in the middle of a bustling city and still feel like you are isolated from everybody around you. It's because loneliness isn't just about the absence of bodies. Loneliness is about the absence of connection. And social media allows us to broadcast literally and metaphorically, but it doesn't necessarily enable us to connect with others in a deep and meaningful way unless we go out of our way to make it happen. And a lot of this is because of the way that humans are wired. We are built for face-to-face communication, and we don't get a lot of that from social media. So one of the first things that happens is that we feel distance from people. We don't feel that the people on the other side of the screen are quite as real because we're communicating through text that doesn't allow us to have the same connection with people that we have in person. We can't smell them. We can't feel the warmth of their bodies, and we can't see them. We are visually oriented creatures, which is why texting doesn't necessarily fill the gap. Video and video chat helps immensely, and that is what I want to talk about today. But the other part that comes with not just the video chat, but the connection. Part of what makes it difficult part of what makes it difficult at these times is that when we are just broadcasting at one another, we're not connecting with one another. We are not sharing. We are not doing what it takes to actually have meaningful interactions with one another. We are just performing. We're putting ourselves out there, but we're not taking in. I realize that sounds very woo-woo, but there's actually a point to this. It's that just by saying, oh, hey, here's my life, here's this delicious meal that I've made, we're putting on a performance. We are curating our lives, trying to make ourselves look better than we actually are. When we want to connect with people, what we need to do is to actually open up and be real with them. We need to have the same sort of interactions we would have with our in-person friends that we would have over social media that we can't have right now. And so what we need to do right now is find ways to rebuild the connections that we would have if we were out there in the world in person, talking with people, meeting with our friends, hanging out, spending time. And this is important. Someone has to be the one to take the first step. Someone has to be the person to reach out, to organize, to set this all up. And that person may as well be you. Your friends need this. You need this. It is time to step up. As Henry Rollins said, hero time starts now. And one of the most important things you can do that will help you and that will help your friends is be the organizer, be the leader, coming up with the activities that help you connect and reconnect and stay in touch with one another. And we can find ways of taking our daily lives and bringing them into the virtual world. And I feel old as fuck referring to it as the virtual world, because that's how we used to talk about it in the 90s. At least I'm not talking about cyberspace. There are a lot of obvious ways of doing that, ways of taking one-on-one interaction, taking a one-to-one relationship from the real world to the digital world, to Facebook Live, Zoom, Hangouts, whatever you want to call it. The most obvious is to be the person to organize virtual video happy hours. Happy hours, meals together. These are things that people are feeling these are things that people are feeling the lack of most intensely, because dining together, eating together, drinking together is one of the fundamentals of civilization. It is part of why the laws of hospitality were considered to be so sacred and so important, and that violating them had massive, massive consequences, because eating together, breaking bread together was a big part of how we solidified social bonds, and we don't have that at the moment. But taking the time to organize a virtual happy hour via an app literally called Happy Hour, via Zoom, via a group Skype call, this can be one of the ways to bridge the gap. This has become so prevalent in Japan. In fact, they actually have a word for it, onnomi, or online drinking. Getting a bunch of people together for a virtual happy hour is a good start to get everybody together, because now you're able to talk more than just, hey, text. Hey, here's my life. Here's the pictures I've been taking about my new isolation beard. You can actually connect and talk and share about what's going on with your lives, your frustrations, the things that you are dealing with right now. There are other things you can do. Online brunch is a thing that several people have started doing, and another great way of recreating that sense of we can't be there in person, but we can at least share this moment and share this meal, even if everybody is across the country or so far away from each other that it feels like they might as well be on another planet. And of course, games like D&D have transitioned very easily into an online space. And there are so many tools to make that possible. In fact, I've got a D&D game tomorrow that I'm really looking forward to, because it is one of the ways I'm staying in contact with some good friends of mine. But those aren't the only options that we have, nor necessarily the only options that we want to look to. There are a number of other ways to bring people together to share in the experience of being together, even if we can't be there in person. And you want to find those examples. You want to find those ways of doing it. For example, an online book club is a good way to connect with your friends, give you guys something to do, to talk about, that's more than just, hey, doesn't being stuck in one place suck? Having a chance to sit around and talk about this shared experience, this book, sharing your thoughts, is a way of connecting and sharing this moment and being together and tapping in to one of the most primal instincts of humanity, telling stories. Something that a lot of us feel is completely lost right now. You can build on that as well. Open mic nights, poetry recitals, doing things like having a comedy workshops, going over your own stories, writing out if you're going to be working on the great American novel, as a lot of people are in this. They're taking the time to go like, you know what? I've always wanted to write a book. Now is the time I'm going to try it. Getting together a writers club where you can sit around and talk about the process, share your works in progress, get criticism, get tips. This is a perfect time for it. However, another thing you may want to do is to get creative. It is time to start thinking outside the box, to come up with new, different, and interesting, even challenging ideas for what you can do to be social at times like this. And by having these unique creative ideas, you are more likely to get people who are going to want to be involved because they're going to see this and go, you know what? Okay, that sounds crazy. I'm in. And one of the ideas that I like, that I've been putting together with some friends of mine, and it has been an interesting little experiment and an interesting challenge, is, as we put it, amateur Iron Chef. I know a lot of you have seen the meme going around about how half of us are going to come out of this with amazing cooking skills, and the other half are going to come out of this with a alcohol dependency problem. Well, to play into this, why not lean into the amazing cooking skills idea? The idea of amateur Iron Chef is that you get a bunch of people together who want to work on just cooking and who want to share that moment of cooking with each other. One person each week is the decider who picks the secret ingredient, ideally something that you can all easily get a hold of. And that's going to vary from locale to locale. Here in Austin, it's been surprisingly difficult to get a hold of potatoes and cucumbers. I don't know why, but those are the first things to go in the stores besides the basic bulk goods. But you've got the secret ingredient and you build your meal around that. And then the next day or even the next week, everybody shares their recipes. They share what they've done. They've shared what their experience was with it. And as you are sharing your recipes, you then switch them around. If one person had a recipe that sounds intriguing to you, you give that a try and they give yours a try. But here's the added twist. How would you put your spin on this? How would you take this recipe and, if not improve it, change it? What would make it uniquely yours? Another alternate challenge. How would you make it work for you? How would you make it keto friendly? How would you make it gluten free? How would you make it safe for somebody who has specific allergens? What ingredients would you swap out? If you do not have the ingredients on hand, what could you use to replace them? Doing this, changing it around, sharing those results, and then swapping that with somebody else gives you the opportunity to get creative, to really interact with folks in a way that we often don't, even when we're in person. Elisa in the comments says that she and some of her flatmates and she are all already doing this by making pancakes via Zoom. That's also a great idea. And honestly, right now, I would probably... Hey, buddy, we're having a guest visit here. Mr. Senior Kitty is insisting on taking part. To be perfectly honest, I would murder a whole lot of strangers for some Kirby Lane pancakes right now. Not gonna lie. Another variation on this is to do the same thing with cocktails. Pardon me for a second. Yes, you want to take part for a minute? Hey, everybody, say hi to Mr. Senior Kitty, who's insisting on making a lot of noise right now. How you doing, buddy? All right, down. So, quiet, buddy. So, another variation on this is to take the happy hour version of it, the home mixology. Start with a base alcohol, whether it is gin, vodka, tequila. Start with the base ingredient: gin, alcohol, tequila. Again, ideally, something that somebody easily has access to or is likely to already have. It's a little unfair to organize it with, say, sochu Or mezcal. Not a lot of people are necessarily going to have those unless they have a really well stocked bar. But take the base and say, all right, here's the base. Here are a couple of other ingredients. Go. And you could add a twist to it like, all right, you have to make a cocktail with only 3 ingredients. You have to make a cocktail with this flavor profile. Mix them up, share them together at your next virtual happy hour. And then again, trade the recipes. Take someone else's cocktail recipe, make it yours. How would you improve upon this? Alternately, if you're a creative type, now is the time to let that side shine through as well. One of the things that a lot of people have been started doing, on whether it is through Zoom, through Facebook Live, through other events, is to have online jam sessions. People get together, they bring their instruments. It's a little hard to do if you have, say, a full drum set, but getting together to share their musical talents and just put together impromptu bands almost, and say, all right, let's play together. Let's take your guitar, let's take your singing, let's take your bodhrán, and put them all together. See what happens. Again, a great start. You could even do this in a way to add challenges, to add creativity. What if you had a theme night where the idea was, all right, tonight we're doing 80s pop songs. Tonight we are going to recreate these particular songs. We're going to all try to learn this song together. Not only is that incredibly fun, incredibly social, lets you have those laughs that everybody desperately needs right now, but you're able to share that afterwards and show it to other people and go, hey, look at this crazy shit that we've done. And so many people would get a laugh out of that as well. And that might actually inspire you to take that to the next level. Try working on your performance, doing things together, building on that, trying new challenges, songs that you may not be able to play normally. You could also have fun by doing read-alongs, whether you are getting Shakespeare plays and acting it out over Skype, or doing an amateur radio plays for fun and giggles, doing voiceover dubbing for your favorite anime, even just improv dubbing it and coming up with something new and crazy. Having your friends together to do this makes a huge difference. And there are a number of other games you could play this way too. Having a regular game night can be a great way of connecting with your friends who you haven't been able to see during all of this. Now, there are a lot of game apps out there that have specifically online versions. You can find a standalone version of Catan or Carcassonne, for example. But there's also games like Tabletopia that let you play all kinds of classic and also new, inventive, and surprisingly difficult games like Betrayal at House on the Hill, or maybe a little on the nose right now, Pandemic. This might also be another time to try games like Baldur's Gate or Waterdeep, whatever. I'm trying to remember the name of that is. Someone in the comments is going to correct me about this. But these are all times to spend with your friends. You can even play Cards Against Humanity online now, which is a great way to find out which of your friends are just absolutely horrible people. It's amazing. But the key to all of this is going to be regularity. I know a lot of people have been saying, and we even have people in the comments saying that, hey, you know what? I feel almost ignored on social media, or what happens if I throw this and nobody comes? And then what you want to do is schedule these events to be regular, to have them every time at the same time on the same day. Because one of the keys to making friends and to maintaining friends and building friendships is regularity. Seeing them preferably every week, if not every 2 weeks at the bare minimum. That is about how much it takes in order to maintain a friendship. Seeing each other bare minimum once every 2 weeks. By having these regularly scheduled events, you are able to give people not just something to look forward to, but something that they know that they can work their schedule around. So they know that if every Friday at 5 p.m. Central Time, you're going to have a virtual happy hour, they know that they can drop in for that. And they can make sure that they have cleared the deck. If they know that you're going to have your D&D night every other Wednesday, they know that if they can't make this one, at least they can make the next one. Having that regularity gives structure at a time when structure is badly needed. Because, and shout out in the comments if you're feeling this, time has ceased to have meaning for a lot of us because we don't have those little touchstones that tell us what day it is. We don't have the going into work on a Monday. We don't have the going to the comic store on a Wednesday, or having our daily sessions at the gym or the restaurant we would go to with our partners on Saturdays. This is hard for us. Having regularly scheduled events, knowing that they're going to be coming on the same day and the same time, is a huge psychological reassurance that we all desperately need right now. So as I'm going through this, do we have any questions? Do we need any part that's being clarified? Chris Viola says, I actually forgot what day it was when I woke up this morning. I've been dealing with that for the last week and a half. And let me tell you, as somebody who works on a deadline, that is a damn nightmare at times. All right, no questions at the moment. I love it when I teach so perfectly. Nobody has any questions. Let's keep going. Here's the thing that you need to keep in mind. While you're doing this, you want to build it out to other people. You want to increase your social circle by sharing it around as you're building critical mass, as you're getting people together, and you want to improve your social circle. Now is the time to start reaching out to other people you may not know, and saying, hey, here's this cool thing I'm doing. Would you like to take part in it? And for all of you who are watching right now, open up another tab and see what local Facebook groups are for your city. See whether your city or your town has its own subreddit. These are places where you can reach out to folks and say, hey, here's this thing that I am doing that would be really awesome. We would love to have you be a part of it, and then drop a link. Failing that, or in addition to that, you can also create virtual meetups, particularly if you want to have discussion groups, particularly if you want to have book clubs, if you want to have things that are a little more esoteric that maybe your immediate social circle is not necessarily into. Excuse me. Setting up a event on Meetup is a good way to find folks in your area who have shared interest who you have shared interest with, who like a lot of the same things you do, who are feeling the same way you are, that sense of loneliness, that sense of isolation, that wish that somebody would reach out to them and say, hey, what's going on? Come join us, do this thing. That is going to be a huge, huge gift that you can give to other people right now. And so as I go through my notes. Now, here's an important thing. Part of what I've been talking about has been group events. And admittedly, group events are important, especially if you are feeling like you are missing your squad, your crew, your whatever. One of the things that I really enjoyed, especially back in the day, and I don't know if anyone watching this right now is an old school Spillio, but recording the League of Extremely Ordinary Gentlemen podcast was for years the highlight of my week, because it was a party that we threw every week with some of the best people I knew, some of the most fun people I knew. We would get together, we would have some drinks, we would hang out, and incidentally record a podcast about some of our favorite topics. That was a thing I looked forward to every week. But as much as I enjoy the group get-togethers, as much as I enjoy doing the things that bring all of my friends together, what you also need to do is focus on those one-on-one connections. because those are important too. And often those are ones that get neglected during all of this. And we are in a place and time where we need those connections and we need that feeling that other people are out there and other people are thinking about us. So, in addition, not instead of, but in addition to getting these group get togethers to get up and running, reach out to your friends on a one-to-one level. Schedule a Skype call with them, a Facebook call with them. Let them know that you are thinking about them and that you want to connect with them specifically, individually. Schedule a get together with them so you can just hang out and talk. Because right now, your friends are probably as lonely and as disconnected as you are. And knowing that somebody is thinking about them, that somebody wants to talk to them, is going to make them feel amazing. It is going to be that sense of connection that creates the dopamine that helps decrease that cortisol, that oxytocin that so many of us need that we aren't getting right now. Reaching out to somebody and having that amazing conversation, having those laughs is really, really important. So each of you in the comments, each of you watching right now, if you're watching the replay, if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to the podcast version of this, think of, let's say, 5 people that you know that you are going to reach out to, not necessarily all at once, not necessarily all on the same day, but over the next few days, you're going to make a list and decide, all right, I'm going to get in contact with these people and say, hey, how you doing? I've been thinking about you. What's been going on? And just as importantly, say, not just importantly, say, how are you doing? But do you need anything? How are you feeling? Do you need any help? We are in a point where people are stressed, people are feeling trapped, and in a lot of cases, they don't know or they don't know how to reach out to people. They're afraid to say, you know what, I'm holding on by my fingertips. And having somebody who is going to extend their hand and say, hey, I've been thinking about you. I want to know what you need. I want to know what I can do to help you, is going to be a huge, huge moment. Elisa asks, what if you're afraid that on a one-on-one call, what if you're afraid that a one-on-one call would be awkward, asking for a friend? Don't worry about the awkwardness. We're in the middle of a fucking apocalypse. This is not the time to be afraid of being awkward. This is a time to embrace the awkward. Because awkwardness is temporary. The connection is far more important. And the good that you will do is far more important. Especially one thing to think about is not are reaching out to the people that you haven't talked to in a while. When you're making that list of 5 people that you're going to reach out to, think of the folks who you haven't talked to or seen. And this may be family, this may be old friends, but they should be people you care about. And a couple of them should be people that you want to reconnect with. This is the time to reconnect with people and to say, hey, you know what? I have not talked to you from forever. How are you doing? What's going on? Now it's time to catch up. If you don't necessarily have any of those, a lot of you, especially if you're of a certain age, have friends with kids. Some of you have single friends with kids, single moms, single dads. Those are people who very definitely need to be reached out to, because I can guarantee you right now, a lot of them are dying for adult conversation. They're dying to talk to somebody about something other than SpongeBob or Paw Patrol or Peppa Pig. And you're reaching out and saying, hey, what's going on? Tell me about what's going on. Here's what's happening in my life. Here's the things that I'm planning on doing when I get out of quarantine. What are you going to do when you get out of quarantine? That is the sort of thing that is going to save somebody's sanity right now. Similarly, if they have kids, and especially if they're quarantined with their family, they're quarantined with their kids and their partners, Cat hair everywhere. Especially if they're quarantined with their partners, having someone reach out and say, hey, you know what? Would you like me to entertain your kids for a little while? That can be huge. Being someone who can say, hey, I'm going to play games on, you want someone to play games with your kids on Xbox Live, PlayStation, someone to teach them how to play really basic board games, really basic card games, so that mom and mom, dad and dad, they can all have a little time to themselves, both, private time, but also just adult time away from the kids. That is going to be hugely important to them right now. You would be doing them so much help by doing this, by reaching out and saying, let me help you, let me assist you in this way. And that will really help create that bond that we are all desperately in need of right now. Another thing to do, especially if, as a lot of you are in the comments, are worried about it being awkward, worrying about those quiet moments, express gratitude. We, in a time of stress, in a time of distraction, in a time of being distanced from one another, expressing gratitude, being grateful for the people in our lives is really important. And more important than expressing it is letting them know that we appreciate them, that we want them in our lives, that we miss them is huge. So as you're talking to folks, tell them what they mean to you. Tell them about how much you miss them. Tell them that you appreciate what they bring to your life, because they need to hear that right now. And you actually need to express it, because by expressing gratitude, it makes you more mindful about what you do have. It makes you more aware of the connections. It makes you happier, makes them happier. And we are all in desperate need of a little more happiness right now, a little more joy. Which is why the last thing I want to leave you with before I open up the floor to any questions and then the final sales pitch before I call it quits for the day, is to say, keep it positive. I know a lot of you are looking at Facebook and at Twitter and even some Instagrams and seeing people who are just freaking out, who are miserable, who are just complaining, or who are just venting about their frustrations of the day, whether it is frustrations of being stuck at home, frustrations with politics, our leadership, the fact that we don't know when this is going to end, all the uncertainty of it. That is extremely trying on the human soul. I mentioned this before, but we have an inherent negativity bias. Our psyches pay more attention and give more weight to negative thoughts, experiences, and emotions than they do positive ones. They weigh about 5 times more. They impact us 5 times more than positive ones. And this is a evolutionary holdover from a time when being aware of negativity meant the difference between life and death. Having a negativity bias meant that you were more likely to remember, it's like, oh, right, those are the berries that killed Throg. That is the creature that ate Krunk. These are things we need to be aware of. But now that we're not all cavemen living in the savannah anymore, we have this holdover that's causing us problems. It causes us stress. We need more positivity in our lives, especially in times of stress, which is why when you are connecting with people, either in groups, whether you're getting together with these big events that you're going to be organizing, or whether it's one-on-one, you want them to be happy, not in fun and funny, not in the sense of positive vibes only, man, but in the sense that you are there to have a good time, to focus on the bright side of things, on the happy joy of being with your friends, of connecting with people you haven't seen and can't see right now. And the easiest and best way to do that is through humor and through fun. If you're hanging out with your friends and you're talking about the good times and you're talking about, what you appreciate about them, talk about the funny things that you've done. Reminisce over all the crazy shit that's happened. Go on that trip down memory lane and say, hey, do you remember this time that we did blah? Wasn't that weird? If you don't have that shared experience already, then start by sharing, hey, you want to hear a funny story about this crazy thing that happened to me? And share a funny story from your past, something that happened to you. And then by doing so, give them permission to share something from theirs. And if you aren't necessarily sure how to tell a great story, I've got a video about it on my YouTube channel, How to Tell Stories. You can look it up very easily. Go give that a look because it'll help you structure how to tell these stories, how to make them more real, how to make them more vivid. And if you are getting together with a bunch of people, especially a mixed group, people you do know, don't know, find ways to incorporate that sense of fun, craziness, sharing into the event. So one of the rules that I've instigated with all of the Zoom happy hours or hangouts that I've done is that everybody who's taking part in it has to have a crazy ass background. If you don't know already, Zoom lets you change the background of your window so that other people see your smiling face and then something behind you. And some people set it up to look like they're in space. A friend of mine has set hers up to look like she's on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. Somebody else has theirs doing all of their meetings for work in front of Hogwarts. So when our happy hours, it's like, all right, what crazy ass place are you supposedly having your drinks in? Some people are in the Simpsons house. Some people are in the Family Guy house. Some people are on the bridge of the Red Dwarf. That is one quick, easy, really simple way of adding some whimsy and some humor to things and setting the tone. Take time to share jokes, make corny jokes. Talk with each other. Share the bright side of things. What is a stupid thing that you did that you would never have done under other circumstances? What is a thing that your pet has done, except refer to them as your roommate or your office mate or the dude at the end of the bar? The more happiness, the more laughter, the more joy that you can bring into this, the better you will make it. The more that you will help other people. Because here's the thing. Happiness, smiling, joy are literally valuable to us right now. People choose happiness over almost everything else. Being able to make somebody smile is like having a truckload of chocolate delivered to their house. Being able to make someone laugh, having a friend who makes you laugh, makes you feel good, is literally equivalent to about $75,000. They have found that is about the amount of money it would take to equate the same level of satisfaction, contentment, and happiness that comes with having a good friend who makes you laugh and makes you feel good. And most importantly is the effects that this will have on your health. Because, as I said, loneliness and isolation is as bad for you as smoking. It increases hypertension. It increases depression. It impairs brain function. The longer you go in isolation, the more you start to respond as though you have had head trauma. This is the reason why being locked in solitary confinement in prison is both a punishment and considered a crime by international courts. It is considered an actual honest-to-God crime against humanity. And we are in that situation of doing it to ourselves. So connecting with other people, reinforcing those social bonds is going to be making a huge difference in other people's lives and in your lives. And by setting these events up, having these regular events, having these regular drink ups, these regular game nights, these regular music sessions, these regular book clubs, writing clubs, what have you, you're going to be setting yourself up very well for dating. But that is going to be a topic for next week's seminar. So before I start to wind things down, let me open up the floor to anyone who has any questions. So if you have any questions about this, about what we've been talking about, stuff you need clarified, let me know in the comments right now. I'm taking whatever you've got going on. Chris Viola says, isn't tomorrow April 1st? Yeah, it is. And you know what? April Fool's Day is canceled. I'm sorry. This is not the time to be making jokes about a whole lot of yay, I can talk. this is not the time to be doing a lot of the April Fool's humor that goes around on the internet, because I've already had people who were trying to do April Fool's pranks about quarantine rules or about stores closing or about things happening. And right now, no, that none of that is necessarily helpful. That is just stressing people out. So when I talk about being positive and being humorous and sharing jokes, that is not one of them. Read the metaphorical room, as it were. All right. Do we have any other questions before I call it for the day? All right, cool. I love it when I teach so well that nobody has any questions. All right, guys. So, like I was saying, thank you for taking part in this. I appreciate all of you who joined me. I appreciate all of you who are watching this on the replay. I appreciate those of you who are watching it on my YouTube channel, or if you're listening to it. And as I said, as all of you know, I am a dating coach. If you are having questions, if you are in need of some personal assistance with your dating life, and yes, you can still have a dating life even now. Relationships continue even under quarantine. Check out my site. I have both you can either submit questions for Ask Dr. Nerdlove at my site or at Kotaku using the contact form. Elisa says maybe people need a bit more time to think. All right. Give it a little time while I'm going through my spiel here. But as I said, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them through the contact form on my site, drnerdlove.com/contact. Now, if you have a dating question that you want answered, but you don't necessarily want answered on the site, that may need a little bit more involvement than you can necessarily go into in an email, then I have private coaching options. We have the priority message option where you can be guaranteed of a private response. We have Skype coaching for those of you who want some dedicated one-on-one time to go over whatever your questions may be. It is a point where you have my undivided attention for an hour to focus on nothing but your dating issues. And we can talk about just about anything from how to maximize your opportunities during online dating, how to deal with relationship strains that come up while you're self-isolated and can't see one another, or how to get ready for when quarantine is lifted and everybody is back out on the streets and hitting the bars again and out and being social. And as I've said before, I am getting ready to start the Dating Accelerator program, an 8-week seminar, much like this, where you and a limited number of students get a 8-week weekly call-in about how to prepare your dating life, A to Z guide, how to change your life around, what you need to be socially successful, especially when the quarantine is lifted, when we are all able to go out into the world again. Because this will end and people will have a lot of energy to burn. People will be ready to be social, and you will be in a position better than anybody else to take care of it. Signups are available at the Nerd Love Academy Facebook group, where you can read the pinned tweet. I will have a link to the sign up sheet specifically in the comments on here and on YouTube. It's not going to be cheap. Not going to lie. This is the beta test, and this is going to be the cheapest that it will ever be. But those of you who sign up for it now are in the position of being able to shape things, to shape the direction, because this course is going to be responsive to your needs as students. I have a limited number of seats left. So as I said, check out the link. I will share it in the comments below and in a number of other places where this gets posted. Quick question. People who are going crazy without touching and hugging, what should they do? This one is tricky, especially if you're not quarantined with other people. Because, yeah, I'm an extrovert. I need people around me, and I need physical contact as well. Part of what can help to get your touch needs met is, honestly, you're going to have to start to think outside the box. One of the things I strongly suggest, especially if you have the resources for it, not everybody does, is to look into fostering a pet. There are animal shelters in your area that are desperately looking for people to shelter their pets because they can't stay open under the shelter in place laws. They're not deemed essential personnel, and they can't have people coming in. They are in desperate need to find homes for dogs, cats, all sorts of animals. If you have the chance, this is a time to be a foster pet owner that will help you not only have a sense of company, but also will help you get your touch needs met in a way that you can right now. Any other questions while we're waiting? All right. As we're winding things down, if you have a question that I haven't gotten to on here, or if you have a question that you want to ask that you haven't had a chance to, or that this live stream ended before you had a chance to, I'm going to host an AMA in the near future where you can get all of those questions in. I'll take your Q's, you get my A's. It's going to be a fun time. But in the meantime, hope you guys are all staying safe. Hope you guys are all staying healthy. And I hope you all are staying strong. I am thankful to each and every single one of you who came out to watch this, who are watching this in the replay. So that is going to do it for this week. Thanks to everybody who came to take part. I really appreciate each and every one of you who joined me for this. Thanks to all of you who are checking it out afterwards. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you share it around with all your friends. If you really enjoyed it and you find that these are really helping you, then maybe consider supporting the channel or supporting the podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/drnerdlove. Even $1 is a huge help. Meanwhile, you can follow me on Twitter at @drnerdlove. Join the Facebook group NerdLove Academy at facebook.com/groups/drnerdlove. And as always, hit the logo to subscribe, check out my latest videos, and I will be here with you next time with more about love, sex, and dating. Later.